He initially aimed for a solid grade, but what he received was far beyond his expectations and completely unexpected. The film opens with Jamie, a dedicated student, presenting a farewell gift to her teacher, Miss Cohen, who is departing from the school. Cohen reassures Jamie, commending her excellent academic achievements and motivating her to continue her hard work so she can gain admission to any college of her choice. Curious about her successor, Jamie inquires about Miss Matson, and Cohen describes her as a skilled educator whom Jamie is likely to appreciate. The next day, Miss Matson takes over the class, introduces herself, and promptly assigns a test, stating that she is adhering to Cohen's curriculum. After class, Matson approaches Danny to discuss his grades, reminding him that he needs to keep them up to remain on the baseball team. Danny requests a meeting after school to talk about his grades, and Matson agrees. During their discussion, Matson inquires if he has a girlfriend, to which Danny mentions Jamie, the girl he admires. Even though she knows Danny's in a relationship, Matson begins to show interest in him. She offers to provide extra assistance with his assignments, suggesting she is available after school on Thursdays. Danny declines her offer, explaining that he intends to spend his upcoming anniversary weekend with Jamie. Matson then asks for his phone number to help him with his schoolwork. The next day, Jamie is disheartened to receive a C on her paper and approaches Matson to see if she can improve her grade, as she needs high scores for a college scholarship. Matson assigns her extra work due the following day, complicating Jamie's ability to revise her paper. Concerned, Jamie decides to focus on her college aspirations over her relationship with Danny. When she tells Danny she can't spend time with him because of her paper, he becomes upset, arguing that grades aren't everything. Jamie responds by explaining her family's financial difficulties and the significance of scholarships for her future. In contrast to Danny, whose education was funded by his parents, he gives Jamie an anniversary gift, but leaves feeling hurt. At the same time, Danny's baseball team faces a defeat, which adds to his growing disappointment. Unable to fully enjoy his anniversary with Jamie, he finds himself at a bar with Miss Matson, who encourages him to have a drink, promising to keep it a secret. Their discussion revolves around his relationship with Jamie and the challenges he's facing. The following day, Jamie is dismayed to discover she received another C on her paper, despite following Matson's guidance. She begins to suspect that Matson may harbor some bias against her and confides in a friend, who suggests she should approach Matson once more. After class, Jamie observes a close conversation between Matson and Danny, which only intensifies her suspicions. Danny confides in Matson about the possibility of being dropped from the baseball team by his coach, but she reassures him that improving his grades will secure his spot. She offers him additional tutoring and expresses understanding of his worries about meeting his parents' expectations for attending a prestigious college like Stanford. Danny shares details about his family, and Matson reciprocates by revealing her own background, including her experience of never knowing her biological parents and losing her foster mother to an insulin overdose. Later, Jamie meets with Danny and expresses her frustration that Miss Matson is unfairly grading her work, giving her lower scores despite her hard work. Danny wonders why Matson would act that way, but Jamie can only show her frustration. When she attempts to ask another question, Danny has to leave to run errands for his mother. Later, Danny confronts Matson, questioning whether she is deliberately giving Jamie low grades. Matson responds by asking what Jamie has shared with him, to which Danny replies that it was nothing specific. She reassures him that Jamie is merely overthinking the situation. They share a kiss, and when Danny turns around, he catches sight of Jamie watching them from outside the house. Stunned, Jamie quickly turns and walks away. Danny rushes after her, disregarding Matson's attempts to intervene. Outside Matson's house, Danny catches up to Jamie, who is fighting back tears. Feeling betrayed by her teacher, Danny tries to explain his actions, but Jamie remains skeptical of his sincerity. In an effort to comfort her, Danny promises to resolve the issue, and they head back to Jamie's home. The next morning, Matson approaches Jamie to apologize, admitting she made a mistake by giving her a C on the second paper and changes it to an A. Jamie responds with sarcasm, pointing out that this apology doesn't resolve the tension between Matson and Danny. Later, Matson speaks with the principal, claiming that Jamie has been acting aggressively. Although the principal wants to talk to Jamie, Matson insists she can manage the situation and achieve a favorable outcome. In the parking lot, Danny checks in on Jamie, who shares that Matson raised her grade but feels it was motivated by guilt. Danny reassures Jamie that he intends to break up with Matson that evening. Jamie tells him that afterward, Matson is welcome to discuss their relationship. Danny sets up a meeting with Matson in the park. When she receives his message, she feels a rush of excitement. At the park, Jamie initially shows interest in Danny, but he stands his ground, expressing his disapproval of how she has treated Jamie. Matson tries to convince him to stay, but he walks away, leaving her in tears. In a moment of panic, Matson jumps into her car and makes a reckless choice, running into Danny. She quickly hides his body, cleans the car, and later places Danny's blood on Jamie's car without her knowing. The following morning, the police discuss the case of a teenager found dead in the park. Meanwhile, Jamie repeatedly tries to reach Danny, but he doesn't pick up. Soon after, Jamie's mom informs her that the police have called. Danny's body has been discovered. The police ask Jamie and her mother to come to the station. Upon arrival, they encounter Danny's parents, who hold Jamie responsible for their son's death. As tensions escalate, the police step in to defuse the situation. During the questioning, Jamie reveals that Danny had intended to visit her after ending his relationship with his girlfriend, Matson. The police, taken aback, inquire if Jamie has any proof of the relationship between Matson and Danny. Subsequently, the police pay a visit to Matson at her residence. She refutes any claims of a special bond with Danny, asserting that Jamie is merely fabricating stories. Matson also mentions that Jamie's demeanor has changed over the past week. When questioned about her whereabouts during the incident, Matson states she was at the cinema. The following day, the police come to Jamie's home to search for evidence. They discover blood on the front of Jamie's car. Stunned and bewildered, Jamie struggles to respond, leading to her arrest for Danny's death. Her parents comfort her, assuring her that she will be released soon. While Jamie is in custody, her mother keeps a vigilant eye on Matson, noticing her odd behavior. As Jamie's parents anticipated, she is eventually released. Convinced that Matson is responsible for Danny's death, Jamie hatches a plan to force a confession. That night, she sneaks out to Matson's house. Just as Jamie is on the verge of getting Matson to confess, Matson realizes her intentions and attempts to attack Jamie.
Look who's pathetic now. You don't like that, do you? Furious about the hidden recorder, Matson approaches Jamie. As she swings to strike, a detective intervenes, grabbing her arm and disarming her. Fortunately, the police arrive just in time to apprehend Matson. Later, they uncover that this isn't Matson's first incident involving a student. She had successfully concealed her history, allowing her to move to LA. The following morning, Jamie gets a letter from White and Dale University, celebrating her acceptance.